Hi everybody. Today I wanted to talk about the main differences between the book and film of The Lord of the Rings and the choices that have been made by Peter Jackson in its trilogy. Then I wanted also to talk about the translation from English to Italian and about the new translation in Italian of 2019. For those who don't know the novel Lord of the Rings, it has been written between 1937 and 1949 by the writer J.R.R. Tolkien, and he was then published between 1954 and 1955. It's made up of 3 books: The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. It has been translated in even more than 38 languages. One of the first adaptations has been made in 1978 by the director Ralph Bakshi with his American animation film The Lord of the Rings. This animation film had a lot of success. However, there have been many critics by the viewers because it was incomplete. In fact, this film covers only the first 2 books of the trilogy. Nonetheless, it was a big inspiration for the director Peter Jackson, who directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the early 2000s. In fact, Peter Jackson, with its trilogy of the Lord of the Rings, he gave new life to the fantasy genre, to the J.R.R. masterpiece. So, in the end, we can say that Peter Jackson adapted a big amount of the books from the Lord of the Ring trilogy. But let's talk about some of the main differences between the book and its adaptation. The first one is about the Eye of Sauron, which is the main antagonist of the plot. In the book, Tolkien describes it as a metaphor for the power of Sauron, so there is nothing physical to it except for the consequences of its power. But in the film, it is represented by a flaming eye. The second one is about the character Fatty Bogler, which is supposed to be the 5th hobbit of the group, but instead of going with the others, he stays in the Shire to make it seem Frodo never left. And he also helps fight against Saruman, who takes over the Shire in one of the last battles. The third one is about Dunedain, an ancient race of men like Aragorn, who is the ranger of the Fellowship of the Ring. The Dunedain are a group of warriors who helped protect the Northern from the evil forces of Sauron. But they are mentioned in the Peter Jackson films when Aragorn says that he was one of the few left. The fourth main difference between the book and the films of The Lord of the Ring is the character of Sir Tom Bombadil, who assists the hobbits during their journey, but it never appears actually in the films, because Peter Jackson said that does nothing to develop the plot actually. But for those who read the book, they know that this character is very important for the story. Let's now talk about the translation matter. From English to Italian and the newest version of Italian translation of 2019. So the author J.R.R. Tolkien, he himself was very attentive on its description, the characters and the landscapes, and he was also very committed to the language. In fact, he also created new languages like the one spoken by the elves. So in 1967 he created a little book for the translator in order to help them translating the names that he used for its characters and geography. In 1967, The Lord of the Rings appears for the first time in Italy, and after the first editorial failure, he was republished with the Rusconi Company, with a new translation by Vittoria Alliata di Villafranca and Principe. This translation is still used nowadays, even if it had many other adaptations due to the release of the trilogy on the big screen. And then, in 2019, there have been a new translation written by the translator Ottavio Fatica. I have to say that the community didn't fully appreciate its work, but I think that we can at least give him a chance. In this video I want to talk about some of the new changes that have been made. For example, the first one is about Aragorn, which in the first translation it's referred to as a Ramingo, and in the second one is referred to as a ranger, a forestale in Italian. Another one is about the character Anfast Gamgee, Sam's father, who is presented at the beginning of the story for its relationship with Bilbo Baggins. They are close friends. So the original Italian translation, it refers to, in the first translation in Italian, Anfast is called Gaffiere, which is very similar to the original version in English, in which he is called Gaffa, an English word which means grandpa, old man. But Gaffiere in Italian, it does mean nothing. Therefore, in the newest version, Fatica changed Gaffiere with Veglio, which in Italian stands for grandpa, old man. For the second one, we have to enter the village of Brea for the prancing pony, which in Italian has been translated for the first time as Il puledro impennato, which gave to the bar a higher status. Instead, in the second version, it has been called Il cavallino inalberato, which is a translation that lower the importance of the bar, because in fact Brea it's a poor village. So in order to keep this representation, Fatica changed its name for something more humble. Third one is about Rivendell, or Imladris, which stands for a deep cleft. And about this, Tolkien has been very careful, because he stated that translators shouldn't translate Riven as the English word river. In fact, Italians have translated at first as Gran Burrone and then Valforra. Both of those translations are very close to the original English one. The last one I want to talk about is another antagonist of the story, which is Shelob, a very big spider who tangled Frodo in Mordor territories. In English, Shelob is formed by the English word she and lob, an ancient English word which stands for spider. The first Italian version, the translators kept the same name for the character. Instead, in the second one, they preferred to take from Greek mythology the name Aragne in order to be more understandable for the Italian public. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed my video and find it interesting, and see you in the next video. Bye!